Hello everybody and welcome to Going for Goldbridge. I feel I must apologise for two things to start off with. One, it's been a long time since I've done this and there is a reason for that which I'll get into in a minute. And two, it should be cooking for Goldbridge. And it was cooking for Goldbridge yesterday, but I screwed up. I'd basically got everything ready, the recipe, everything was ready. And in the afternoon I'd been messing around because I wasn't happy with the audio for last week for the lasagna. So I'd been messing around with it, got the audio right, took the camera out of the room, thought I'm going to play a bit of FIFA, then we'll do it. And I'd left the camera on, so the battery was, I haven't got a backup battery, and then I had to cook the dinner. So I cooked the dinner, but the good thing is we will do that recipe again, and it's very, very nice, and I really enjoyed it. But it was the first time I was doing it, so that's a positive. I did tinker with the idea of doing beans on toast, but I thought that was a bit of a piss take. So I thought I'd do Going for Goldbridge instead, and we will get back with the cooking with Goldbridge next week. And I'll tell you what, it was a banger, absolutely brilliant. So I'm not going to spoil it too much. So how are we all doing at the moment? There's a very good question. I'm going to go through some of your questions from Top Shagger Bruno, who says, first thing you'll do after the lockdown. Well, I think we all know what Top Shagger Bruno wants to do after the lockdown. Watch out, Bruno. But first thing you'll do after the lockdown, I think it's such a great question. And if somebody had asked that question in January, you'd have said, what the bloody hell are you talking about? It sounds like you're talking after a crappy WWE wrestling event, lockdown. But yeah, what's the first thing you'll do after lockdown? Oh, I tell you what, a nice pint from a pub sounds like heaven in many ways. But you know, what would you? I'm throwing that to you. I mean, I am throwing that to you. A nice meal down the pub does seem to be the number one thing for me. But I suppose there's layers to lockdown, isn't there? Because the first thing will be nice to see friends and family that you haven't seen for ages. But yeah, lockdown proper over means being able to go and watch a football match or something like that, doesn't it? Back trainings, things like that. So yeah, lots of things to go on with that. But look, let me just talk about the lockdown first of all. I've said fatigue. I've used it. You know, I started off doing quite regular Going for Goldbridges, and I did enjoy them. But what I predicted would happen has happened. It's become very. People are just being. I'm not even going to be critical of people here. People are just being what we're very predictable as humans, and I think at the start everyone was like, yeah, we're all in it together. Now we're in the it's somebody's fault stage. Even though we need to still be all in it together, it's somebody's fault. It's somebody else's fault. If we'd done this, if we'd done that. And I tell you what, my eyes are wide open to that. My eyes are wide open to the fact that we should have done things differently. But also, my eyes are also wide open to that we don't live in a lift where if somebody farts, it doesn't smell. We're all geniuses in hindsight, and these people who are being critical wouldn't know this is the first thing how to run a country. So it's, of course, mistakes have been made, but I don't think now is the time to really be dwelling on that too much. I think we need to push through this and get through this, and I think people are getting tired, agitated, angry, and I empathise with that. I do. I have got tired and quite fed up of it recently but then my reaction to that is to just keep doing the normal stuff and not moan about it too much, because there's a massive amount of guilt attached to that. There really is. But we can talk about that in a minute. But there's a massive amount of guilt attached to the fact that nobody really wants to moan about that, and that's the most dangerous thing. If you do suffer with a depression or any sort of illness, actually, because if you look at A&E and you look at doctors and everything like that, everything's way down. So are you telling me that because we've got coronavirus, nobody else is getting cancer or getting dodgy lumps or arthritis or problems with their eyes or problems with their ears or whatever the problem? Those things are still happening, but people are almost guilty or scared to put their hand up and say, yeah, I might have a lump or I might have a something, because everyone's focused on coronavirus. So I don't think you should feel guilty if you feel fed up or anything. I mean, we were talking today, and I just said, I just feel so fed up of this monotony, Groundhog Day. And I said, look, we've not got it, and everybody's doing the right thing, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean you need to feel guilty about not being overly overjoyed with the situation. Old Plonker Pants was talking a few weeks ago, wasn't he? I mean, what's the hardship of staying at home and watching Netflix for 3 months? Well, we're all very, very different people, and we've all got very different ways of living. I know somebody who's got a business that they can't run and they don't know where they're going to be in 3 months. I know somebody who's being paid virtually their full wage to sit at home and do nothing. And I know myself, I've got kids at home, my wife's working, I'm working, and it's the hardest we've ever worked, because we're trying to hold down 2 jobs whilst looking after 3 kids and running a household. And we don't moan about that because we know people are like that. But everybody's in different. What I'm trying to say is that there's no one shoe size that fits all for this. not everybody gets to sit at home and watch Netflix like it's a mini holiday. Some people are sat at home watching Netflix, but they're not really watching Netflix because in their head they're going, how am I going to survive? I can't earn money. And some people would like to be watching Netflix, but they're working their arse off. And some people are out there, the heroes without capes, and some people are driving delivery vans. Everybody's in a very different situation in this scenario. And I think different situations means different needs and different coping mechanisms and different feelings. So look, as I said, I find it all a little bit overpowering at the moment, not in a sense that I feel weak, but in a sense that I just feel tired with it. And I've felt that in relation to going for Goldbridge, I've found it hard to get in front of the camera and talk about something. And some people say, well, just ignore it. But I'm like, well, you can't ignore it. You can't ignore the fact that your life is in a house for the last 6 weeks, apart from one walk a day. I haven't driven a car in 6 weeks. The only car I've driven in the last 6 weeks is Formula 1 on PS4 and Grand Theft Auto. I dread to think what I'm going to do when I get behind the wheel in however many weeks' time, because it's going to be a mix-up between, can I remember what it's really like to drive a car, or will I try and do it like a Formula 1 racer, or even worse, like a Grand Theft Auto 5 racer. I mean, all I'm going to say is I'm going to leave the bazooka at home. I joke, but you've got to see the funny side of things, and this is where my funny story is going to go, actually, because you might not find it funny, but when I between the age of like 19 and 23, I lived in Ireland, and I moved over to Ireland having met a girl on holiday in Magaluf, and the guy I told the story about, the pedalo, we were talking literally 2 weeks ago. We haven't spoken in years, and we were talking about the Magaluf holiday. Anyway, this is where we met. These Irish girls, and after the holiday, we ended up going over there on a weekend a couple of weeks later, and then it turned into long distance relationships. I ended up moving over there, and I was thinking, I don't know what it was this week, which is odd for me. Probably tiredness. I can't remember the exact scenario, but I do remember at one point this week we were talking about cringy moments. You know, those moments where you want the earth to swallow you up, and you're like, argh. And I don't think this is my cringiest, and there's probably more that come to mind, and they might come to mind when I'm talking to this, but I'm thinking there was this one thing that happened when I lived over in Ireland. And when I moved over there, I moved into this the girl I was seeing at the time, I moved into her house. Now I actually met my wife while I was living in that house, my current wife. She didn't walk. I wasn't walking through the hall and she came out the living room cupboard. Oh, hello! No, it wasn't like that. I was living, obviously not. I was living over there with the girl who was Irish, and I met my current wife at the place I used to work at in about year 3. So it was towards the end, and that's why I moved back. So when I talk about Ireland, I talk about it in a passionate way, not because of the girl I was living with at the time, although she was very nice, but because also it's where I met my wife, it's how I've had my kids and everything, and I loved it. I loved Ireland. I loved it, and I still do. So I moved over, and I lived in the house that my girlfriend at the time lived, and her parents lived in it as well, and it's quite a big house. Not massive. I'm not talking like, only had about 8 bedrooms and a couple of maids. It wasn't really. It had about 4 bedrooms, and it didn't have any maids. But they were quite well off. Malahide's quite a nice area in Ireland, and quite regularly on the weekend, the mum and dad would the mum and dad would go like to Belfast or something like that, or into Dublin. And this particular weekend, they were going into I think it was a Saturday morning. They were going to drive into Belfast, and we always used to go out on a Friday night anyway. So. You wouldn't get up until probably 9-10 o'clock, and anyway, we had separate rooms, of course, because we weren't married or anything like that, and it was her parents' house, so they weren't going to let us sleep in the same bedroom or anything like that. So anyway, I got up, and I think she brought me a cup of tea or something like that, and I said, "Oh, have they gone?" And she was like, "Yeah." So I was like, "All right, okay." So I think she went into her room, and I was in the bathroom, and we were just sort of talking, and I was like, "Oh, did you tell him to get that jacket that you wanted?" She wanted a jacket for her birthday or something like that. She was like, "Oh no, I'd forgotten." I said, "Well, if you don't tell him to do it, he won't do it because he's so tight." I mean, I'm talking about her dad here. He's such a tight ass. I said, "I bet he's left me a list of stuff to do as well, hasn't he?" And she said, "Probably. I haven't been down into the kitchen." I said, "I'll guarantee it. I work all week. I go out on a Friday night, Saturday, just want to chill out, have a drink, watch a film with you or something like that. And he all left me a list of jobs to do. Because I used to pay board for living there, but I always used to say, oh, if you've got any jobs you want me to do, I'll do it. And lo and behold, he used to give me a list. I said, I'll guarantee there's a list. Cut the grass, wash the cars. I tell you what, I bloody hate washing those cars. He loves that Audi A6, and it's crap. He could. The guy across the road's got a BMW. He could have a much better car than that. He earns way more money than that guy across the road. He could have a much better car, and he makes me clean it like it's a bloody Lamborghini. I wash it, then I've got to wax it, and I say, I feel all right, bloody twat. There I am waxing an Audi A6, and there's 3 better cars across the road, and they don't even wash it as much as that. And they probably think I'm enjoying it. Like, it makes me look a prat, not him. He gets a nicely washed car, but it's me who looks the prat because I'm out there giving it a good old wash, making it all look really nice, and it's one of the crappiest cars on the road. It gets on my bloody tits, and then I'll have to cut the grass. I'll tell you what, it's just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And what will he do? Drive up to Belfast, spend hardly nothing because he's tight, then he'll come back and sit on his big fat arse and watch Saturday night TV. Anyway, I said, right, I'm going to go down and see what the list says. And do you want me to put some toast on? She says, yeah. So I went downstairs, put the toast on. And she comes down, and I put the radio on. I was probably some Oasis. I was in a good mood. I said, good news, bada bing, bada boom. No list, no work. Let's go for a pub lunch. And her face was just like, you're not going to believe this. I said, what? She says, you're not going to believe this. I said, what? She said, they haven't gone to Belfast. I said, what are you on about? She says, they haven't gone to Belfast. They're in their room. I said, what do you mean they're in the bloody room? She said, they're in their room right now. I said, you're joking. She said, no. And I could tell by her face this was true. They're not. They're in their room. He's reading the newspaper and she's reading a book. This had never happened on a Saturday. I mean, they didn't always go to Belfast, but they never used to do that. They'd always be up. If they hadn't gone anywhere, you'd hear them in the house. We couldn't have heard. We never heard anything when we were upstairs. Like nothing. Like I was shouting from the bathroom into her room. Their room is like the next one. All right, the door was slightly open, but you had no. You got a feeling there's somebody else in the house. I had a total feeling, as did the girl I was with at the time. It felt like there was nobody else in the house. They were in the bloody bedroom upstairs. I went, you joke. I said, like, this is the time to tell me you're joking, because if you're trying to wind me up, I'm the king of winding people up. I said, I feel sick now. I feel sick at what I've just said upstairs and the fact that they will have heard the lot. I said, you know what? I'm not even going to ask you, was I speaking loud? Because I know I was shouting. I know what I'm like when I get into a shouty little gobby mood. The whole house could have heard that. They were literally, when I think about it, 10 metres away from the bathroom into their room. I said, they can hear me. So if this is a joke, tell me now, because I want the world to swallow me up. She says, I'm not joking. I said, well, what am I supposed to do? She said, well, I went into them and said morning and they were fine. I was like, oh, what? But they definitely heard what was said. Anyway, I'm like, anyway, then I heard the stairs. I was like, oh, shit. I'm in my boxer shorts and my t-shirt. I can't run outside. I've got no clothes. And I just didn't know what to do. So I just stood there and they walked in. They went, how you doing? I was like, all right, yeah, good. Do you want a cup of tea? Do you want me to wash the car today? That could have been a great end to the joke, but that actually did happen. It was proper cringy. It even makes me feel cringy now, even though it can no longer harm me, and it didn't harm me at the time. I was just sat there thinking, oh my God. They 100% heard it and they never said anything, but I was just like, oh God, swallow me up. But that's what she said. But yeah, so yeah, that was quite cringy, but it was good times living in Ireland, I was a bit, to be honest though, I do look back at myself then, and I was a bit of a shit. I've always been like morally quite good and well mannered, but I think when you're in your early 20s, you're a bit, especially lads. There's Oasis were around then as well. I mean, your role models were Liam Gallagher. He was a bit leery, and I think lads are, and I think you've got every right to be at that age. It's all about nobody should be mature and grown up at 22 or 21 or 23. That's not what it's. Try to have your manners and be a good person, but it's part of the growing process, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, that house that we lived in, I don't know whether it was a class thing or just that area or an Irish thing, but I think I've said it before, there was always somebody who was parents were away at the weekend, so you always had a house party. I remember having a couple of house parties at that house, and I just used to be a little bit, considering I was because I was the English person, and that's not a reason to beat me up, but it could be in Ireland. And at all these house parties, I would be the only English person there, really. And then, you know, everyone would be Irish. And we'd have like house parties, and I'd get quite drunk, and everyone would be drunk. And I'd be like, I'd go up to the music system, and I'd like go, I'd just do it just to wind people up. I'd put like Elevation in by U2, like, woo, woo. And you'd put it on, I'd go, who likes this? Woo. And everyone would go, Elevation. Woo, and then I'd just turn it off, and everyone would go, oh, and then I'd just put something really obscure on that I liked, like a B track of Blur or something like that, and just make everyone listen to it. It's just arsehole, isn't it? But yeah, there's a fine line between winding people up and being a bit of an arsehole, isn't there? But yeah. What's it like knowing that you're basically mates with the most respected reporter? Oh, I think that was in relation to Fabrizio Romano. You know, this water off a duck's back for me. But no, I think you take people as you meet them, don't you? I've met some famous people, and I've been in contact with some famous people, and one minute they're your best mate, and then the next they're not talking to you, because that's the world that they live in. And then I've met some famous people or popular people who you know, stay in contact with you all the time, and they're really nice people. But this is the same. I just think, like, if you idolise a celebrity because they're a great musician or they're a great footballer, remember why you're idolising them. You don't know them unless you're lucky. You're idolising them because they've got a specific great talent. But the same as you're not friends with some people in your class at school or some people at your workplace because they're a bit of a knobhead, but some people are really good people. It's the same with celebrity. Some of them are really nice, some of them are absolute knobheads. So I just take people the same way as I do. If I walk into a supermarket and I get talking to someone who works there, or I walk into the BBC and I'm talking to, you know, somebody off the telly, I treat them the same, because you just don't know. The one in the supermarket might be the nicest person in the world, and the one in the BBC might be a complete twat. So you treat people the same, I think. And the best people I've met who are celebrities are those people who have that mentality. But so many of them are surrounded by people who live off their every bloody word that they're just so stuck up their own arse. What did you learn from your time in Ireland, says United Mika? It was the definition of me. It made me who I am today. I know it's funny you say that, because I was only thinking about this because I've been in contact with a lot of people that I sort of grew up lately because of what happened with my football coach, and yeah, a lot of them are still around the area I grew up in, and I think if I'd stayed around that area, then I would have been in that situation. I don't think I would have been the person I was today. I think I needed to go, if you know what I mean. And that really did help me. What's that all about? No, I don't want to look at that. I just saw on Twitter that The Departed is trending, which is absolutely great. I don't know whether it's trending for a good thing or a bad thing, but I do love the film The Departed. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think it's a great film, and I do. Biggest achievement and proudest moments in lockdown. I think my lasagna was good. Lockdown's Groundhog Day, isn't it? Let's be honest. I mean, I don't feel I've achieved anything. I tell you what. Let's call a spade here. I'll repeat what I said to my wife this morning. I'm always tired. I feel ridiculously unhealthy. I feel like a slug, and I feel mentally drained, and I don't feel like I'm achieving anything, and it feels ridiculously hard every day to do the same day, pretty much the same as yesterday. So that's my feeling about lockdown. I just feel like a sloth. I feel fat, and I don't necessarily think I am. I feel unfit, which I know I am, because look, one walk a day or doing a few press ups, it's not the same as being out, having the freedom to get out and do stuff. So but I do believe that hopefully we'll all come out of it learning things, and I definitely think that you look back on things with more fondness than they actually are. So I think that there will be a time, I hope there will be a time soon actually, where we will look back on lockdown with some affection and go, remember when we had to do that. So yeah, let's not dwell on it too much. Longest relationship pre-wife, says the real Senzu. Well, I've just told you that, 4 years. And what's been the biggest positive for you during the lockdown? A lot of lockdown talk. A lot of lockdown talk. And positive for me has been the fact that, you know, spending time with the family. We don't get to do that on a 24/7 thing, and that can be challenging, but also you don't get that. And I think when people go back to work and go back to school, that will be quite a lonely experience, because I am at home. I'm not here all the time, but I am here probably 2 of my working days a week. So yeah, it will be quite weird at those times, but I was used to it before. Worst argument you've ever had, says Goldbridge, or Ollie9910. Worst argument I've ever had. You know, the worst argument I've ever had, you know, and many people might agree with me on this, the worst argument I've ever had has been the argument that I never really knew what it was about, and it never took place face to face. It was sort of like, we were getting on, and then I see things like on a phone, messages, and then you're not talking to each other, and it's quite a big relationship. Obviously it's not my wife, we're on lockdown together, and I'm not going to give too much detail about it, but it's definitely been the most damaging argument, because that these people aren't in my life anymore, and it was about absolutely nothing. So, and you know, you think worst arguments in your life is, oh yeah, you ended up scrapping and that, but sometimes they're not. Sometimes the worst arguments are about absolutely nothing and end up going really, really deep. Will you ever visit Greece, says Jim? I'd love to. At this time I'd visit bloody a Greasy Spoon. I really would, which is a cafe for those who people don't know. Pancake or waffles? I would say waffles for me. Best Simpsons episode, says ENF. I mean, look, I'm old school Simpsons, so I just love flaming the flaming Homer. You know, the drink that he makes out of cough syrup. Yeah, that's one of my favourite episodes. There's probably loads better, but I love that one. Craziest thing that ever happened to you at school? Off the top of my head, I think I've told most of the stories already. What's the worst topping to put on a pizza, says Aaron? Mine's pineapple. I love pineapple on a pizza. In fact, I'm going to make some onion rings in a minute, which have got nothing to do with pizza. I'm just thinking about onion rings for some reason. Worst thing to go on a pizza for me? There's not much on a pizza that I don't like. I like pineapple on a pizza. I wouldn't. I don't really like olives. I don't really like olives on a pizza. You know, like black olives or even green olives. I just don't like olives on a pizza. I thought that said, what's the thing you're most looking forward to do with your wife? No, it says it doesn't say that. Snog, marry, avoid. Piers Morgan, Matt Hancock and Boris Johnson. None of them, because I'm not that way inclined. What's the best bread? Brown, white or multigrain? I do like the seed bread, I really do. And favourite sports brand? Shave your head. I tell you what, I'm really glad somebody said that. I'm really glad. And I'll tell you what I'm really proud of. As somebody who does social media and YouTube as part of what I do, I'm really proud of the fact that I haven't got so desperate that I need to shave my hair for views. I just really would. I said it at the start and I'll say it again now. How easy would it be to go, I'm shaving my head live on the United Stand tonight? It would get loads of views. Or I'll shave my head if you become a member of my channel. Or if you give me £50 every month, you know, I'll shave my head. Oh, if I can get so many Patreons, I'll shave my head. I mean, what a load of bollocks. What a load of crap. Like, you know, if you're shaving your hair for charity or something like that, fine, fair enough. But come on, some of these twats doing that. I mean, just shave your hair. Why does? Oh my God, he's shaving his head. It's not like you're chopping your head off, or you know, you're eating your own hand. You're shaving your hair. Lots of people have their hair like that anyway. So, yeah, I'm actually quite glad that at no point did I ever think, oh, I'm on lockdown I need some views. Let's shave my hair. So yeah, I'm quite proud of that. But look, I think I've done enough there. It wasn't meant to be a long one. It was more of an update one. I will do cooking with Goldbridge next week, and also do another one of these. And tomorrow you can catch me where I'm going to be shaving my hair live on Mark Gold. I'm really not. It was sarcasm. But thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new. And I hope you're all doing really well. Stay safe. Stay at home. And also stay true to yourself. If you don't feel great, talk to somebody about it. I think that's what I've learned over the last few weeks. It is quite draining. It is quite hard. I do get irritated by people constantly bloody moaning about something that nobody knew it was going to be like this, because the place where it started basically covered it up. And by the time everybody knew what it was already too late. Hold this thought. People have been dying for the last few months, certainly the last few weeks. They probably caught it in February. You know, people say, oh, we didn't lock down enough quick. I've had Cheltenham. That was the middle of March. People who were dying at the start of April probably caught this around late February, mid-February. This has been in Europe since January. How long ago was it where it started? Where did it start? How did it start? Why was it covered up? You know, it's almost like a total and utter, mistakes have been made, but it's also been a massive, massive ambush, unprecedented. So I just think we need to just try and still be a bit unified. Thanks everyone for watching. Speak to you all soon. I'm done now.